longer a matter of discussion. It is a matter of fact. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions, ushering in the game's latest dynasty. In just the second overtime game in Super Bowl history, it's a Mahomes-led drive elevating this franchise to rarefied heights. They say it after every one, and they'll say it again. How about those Chiefs? Taking a look at your box score in the end, it is Patrick Mahomes to Mecole Hardman, and a Kansas City Chiefs dynasty minted back-to-back for the first time in some time as Kansas City tucks it away 25-22, still the champs. HQ is presented by America's Navy. Joe Musso joined by Lige Douzable, Danny Cannell. Gentlemen, history in a moment. Patrick Mahomes leads the drive. The first word goes to you, Deuce. What comes to mind?
Greatness. Literally greatness. DK, we were talking about this, and another word that comes to mind is Pete Prisco is probably smiling from ear to ear because he literally said the 49ers would kick a field goal and Mahomes at the end of the game would lead a touchdown drive to win this game. But pure greatness. Patrick Mahomes literally put this team on his back, DK. 3rd and 1, right? They're in shotgun, and we're like, what are they doing? Aren't they going to quarterback sneak it? Scrambles for 13 yards, gets them in the red zone. 4th and 1, right? They run a bootleg to the right. Travis Kelce is covered, uses his mobility. It was Kelce's not Kelce, but it was Mahomes' mobility that was the difference in this second half, right? I mean, greatness is what comes to mind when you talk about Patrick Mahomes.
It's another wow moment. When you watch Patrick Mahomes play, I mean, I think this is what really separates. It's not just wins, it's how he does it. When you're watching it, you're feeling like you're watching greatness. And we were both on the 49ers.
Yeah, we were.
And I'm sitting there thinking, what was I doing going against this guy? All in the late fourth quarter and overtime. Thinking, what in the world? Never again, Musso. Never again will I go against Patrick Mahomes. The calmness, no matter what he's facing, no matter what the first half looked like, it wasn't great. We're sitting there. You find out a way to make the ball move. Find a way to get the ball down the field. Find a way to get it in the end zone. It's just put the ball in Patrick's hands, and Patrick we trust, and he gets it done.
There is so much history to be parsed through following these back-to-back titles for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I want to get into this 60 minutes of football as well, guys, and let's go there right now. DK, when you look at specifically the second half, because the first half, mistake-ridden, a bit of a feeling-out process. In that final 30 in overtime, where was this game decided in your eyes? Because we did finally get that San Francisco defense we expected to see this season.
We did, but we also saw them, it was almost like they were playing prevent a lot in the end of the fourth quarter and in overtime. I thought they were very aggressive in the first half. They were getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They had the Chiefs on their heels, and in the second half, in overtime, they got away from that somewhat. Even on a second and long situation, we were watching them play an umbrella coverage. They gifted them 8 yards, so then all of a sudden, it's 3rd and 6. Instead of staying aggressive, going for it, and saying, let's keep them in 3rd and long, it's how much a different situation that is for an offense. So as much as and Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs deserve a lot of credit, there are going to be some coaching points the 49ers look at. I think from Steve Wilkes and the defense, that's one that they're going to be scratching their head saying, man, we played such a great first half. We did not keep that script going in the second half.
I mean, the biggest thing, we saw Travis Kelce get going in the second half. I mean, Moose, we were talking about this at halftime. 1 catch, 1 target, 1 yard. That's what Kelce had going into half. I think he finished the game with over 80 yards. And then the biggest play of the game, on 3rd and 2, you line up in man coverage, and I love Fred Warner, all-pro guy, but nobody's covering Kelce one-on-one across the middle of the field. Fred Warner was playing outside leverage instead of inside leverage, and Kelce just ran away from him for like 20-plus yards. So I was a little baffled at some of Steve Wilkes' calls in the second half of the game, right? DK, you talked about it, a little bit too much soft zone coverage, and then for you to go man, and not only did they do it on a 3rd and 2, the Chiefs had a chance to win it in regulation because they went man coverage with Warner again. Nice job by Warner on the back shoulder fade, but baffled by Steve Wilkes and some of the calls in the second half.
Did you see the stat there from the first half to the second overtime? It's almost like the Chiefs. Do you think they kept Travis Kelce under wraps and were like, hey, let's not let them adjust to it and then we'll throw it at them?
Maybe they won't notice him.
Right, exactly. And then they come out there and he takes over. Unbelievable.
I want to talk about that overtime as well because it was a productive drive. It was aided by a penalty for San Francisco coming down the field that stalls because of late pressure up the middle. Brock Purdy can't get to his read on the outside, forces the field goal. What did you make of that drive? Because under the microscope in this game was the play calling of Kyle Shanahan, late game decision-making of Kyle Shanahan. Heartbreak once again in a Super Bowl for Kyle Shanahan. What did you make specifically of that first drive by San Francisco, Deuce?
Well, yeah, that first drive in overtime, it was a great drive. They got Christian McCaffrey going, not only in the run game, but in the pass game. And then we saw the big-time throw by Brock Purdy to Brandon Ayuk on that slant route. Now, that third down call deep in the red zone, I think they just got a little bit too cute, right? A lot of misdirection. They tried to run Jawan Jennings on some like pivot route and out. But the thing is, Chris Jones, DK, the entire game was backdooring blocks all day long. So if you're going to misdirection him, make sure you get a body on him. That way, Brock Purdy can step into the throw, because if he had time, he had Jawan Jennings wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. So I think they just got a little bit too cute on that third down call, because they were able to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. They got him the ball on some angle routes and out there to the flat. But on that third down play, when it mattered the most, just too cute of a play call.
From the first half, I think you give the 49ers like a B+. Yeah. For the second half and overtime, you give them a D+.
Yeah.
It felt very clunky. There were sections where you're sitting there thinking, why aren't they running Christian McCaffrey? Why aren't they running the ball? And then they start getting the run going, and you're like, okay, way to go. And then they get cute with it. They try that little, underhand scoop under throw, which I think some people might say, oh, that's being aggressive. To me, it's being gadgety. Yeah. Like, you got to stay to what you've been doing the game. That it was just clunky. In the second half and overtime, I didn't think Kyle Shanahan could get in rhythm where it felt like the offense was clicking the way it was earlier in the game.
DK, take me down the field the other way. We sort of touched upon it at the outset, the inevitability of Patrick Mahomes again on display and what he did with his legs, but also the play calling of Andy Reid. Unflappable, calm, collected. What stood out to you about that drive?
The fourth down conversion, 4th and 1, when you've got it looked like probably going to be a quarterback sneak, and we're sitting there in shotgun.
We're like, what?
You're like, what are you going to do?
But he gives his quarterback a three-way read.
Absolutely. That's the thing that looks genius, and that's the genius of Andy Reid. Trusting your quarterback that he's going to make the right read off that one, trusting your players to make plays, and for Patrick Mahomes to read it out and recognize, okay, nothing's there. I didn't have my first option, didn't have my second option. Look at all this green grass I can run, and he doesn't just get the first down. He gashes them for about 10, 11 yards.
And the interesting thing about that is, Moose, they doubled down on it. Yeah. That was a play that won him the game to McCole Hardman. It was a three-way read on a bootleg to get him outside. He could have went to Travis Kelce. He was covered, decides to go to McCole Hardman. He's wide open in the back of the end zone. And that's something that we also didn't touch either. Shaquille O'Neal always talks about the others stepping up, right? We saw MVS in the first half get that touchdown after the turnover on the punt. We saw McCole Hardman come up big in this game as well. Justin Watson, a couple third down conversions. It was the others. It was Patrick Mahomes trusting his teammates, not just leaning on Travis Kelce. We talked about how great Mahomes is, but I think his maturation of what we've seen is taking what the defense is giving you and trusting the guys, even when they've struggled earlier in the year, dropping passes.
Well, you know how the saying goes. You either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. Out of some unfounded sense of fatigue, a dynasty is minted, and again, a team has emerged to define a decade. There has been no 5-year stretch that matches what we have seen over these 5 years out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Not the Dallas Cowboys of yesteryear, not the 49ers of yesteryear, not the Steelers of the 70s or the Patriots of the 2000s. This is the most productive 5 years by the numbers that we have ever seen in this sport. How do you make sense of the repeatability of what this team has done? And DK, one further, the way they reinvented themselves, the way a dynasty
that's
must.
What it is.
Do you remember last year's parade when Patrick Mahomes was saying, you guys said this was a rebuild year? I can't wait to see what he says at this year's because he's going to say, you guys all doubted us in the playoffs. Correct. You doubted us in the middle of the season. You said we didn't have anybody. We didn't have any receivers. I think it starts and stops with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he is as special as it gets. I know we're going to rave about him in so many different ways, but how do you stop him? And the thing about this dynasty moves, it doesn't look like it's even close, remotely close to slowing down anytime soon.
Well, and that's the point, right? DK and Moose, we've had so many conversations this week in Vegas about where Mahomes is on the all-time list, where Andy Reid is on the all-time list. And, people looked at me crazy when I said Andy Reid, I think, is already at number 2. It's because of the consistency and the dominance that this team has had. And Moose, you made a great point. The way they've been able to reinvent themselves, right? Where before they would have to put up 35 points a game. No, they have a championship defense now. They can run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco. So like you said, right, the way this young defense is constructed, especially with the young secondary, like they're going to be back in around in the Super Bowl again, right? And I think this win puts Andy Reid in the top 3 discussion. I think it for sure puts Patrick Mahomes in the top 3 discussion. Maybe even pushing old Joe. I think he still needs to get that 4th ring to pass Joe Montana. But again, like you said, the way they've been able to reinvent themselves, the evolution of this Chiefs team, I'm not betting against them.
No. Oh, by the way, there were some reports out this week that they were working on Patrick Mahomes' contract to restructure it, a la Tom Brady, to make sure there's more cap room, which tells you he's not looking to break the bank. He knows he's going to make up that and then some through endorsements.
Correct.
But he's going to try to make sure this dynasty continues and they can spread out some of that money.
The pace is torrid. Maybe we take a little time on the Tom comparison, but if you want to go to Joe Cool Dudes, just 1 playoff win shy of Montana following this Super Bowl victory.
That's crazy.
For Patrick Mahomes.
He's not even 30,
He is 28 years old. Joe Montana got that 16th playoff win at the age of 38 years old.
And that's why I said there is probably going to be a conversation, and me and DK talked about this in the pregame. I still think just because of Joe's dominance in the playoffs, right? Not losing when he was in the playoffs. Kind of like you compared to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan went to 6 straight finals, not 6 straight finals, but went to 6 finals and didn't lose any of them. Joe Montana, the same thing. That's what Montana has over Mahomes because he lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's why I think Mahomes still needs to win another one to be in that rare air with Joe Montana. But like we said, I'm not betting against him that he won't get there.
There is plenty more coverage coming here on CBS Sports HQ. We're going to take a quick break before we take you down to field level. Reaction from another Chiefs Super Bowl victory as they have again navigated the storm and emerged the victor. Welcome to the dynasty. More HQ next.